for me, it's if you have a goal, a long-term goal, then sometimes you might not take the best paying job if it's not gonna, if it doesn't fit in the career trajectory. But by all means, go for the money, guys. Like this economy,
Obviously.
by all means. If it's not something you're gonna absolutely hate and be absolutely miserable in, and it's gonna drain the life out of you, then by all means, go for the money. Like for sure.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Tech Sisters channel, and thank you for joining us again. I am Tobeka Shawalala, and I come with you with Nomfundo.
Welcome back.
Today we have a guest again. So we have Sino Pungula, who's here with us. Welcome, Sino.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
I hope you're good.
Thank you for having me. I'm good.
I hope you're good. Welcome to this beautiful channel. So to start, maybe you can just tell us about yourself, intro yourself, so that we don't want to go through your bio and then we mention companies. Just tell us what you want us to know.
You said this wasn't an interview. So I'm Sinombulelo Pungula. I go by Sino Pungula because it just makes life easier. I was born in the Eastern Cape. 2 parents, 3 siblings, older siblings. I'm the last born. Okay. I'm in tech.
Yeah.
I studied information systems at the University of Western Cape, and now I'm working for a Big 4 firm here in Johannesburg in their advisory space. I'm a huge feminist. That's
Love it.
that's the first thing you need to know about me. Yeah, and I think essentially that's all about me.
So you said you studied information systems. How did you discover the course, and why did you do tech? So how did you land up in tech?
Okay, so I think 18 is too young an age to decide the rest of your life.
True, absolutely.
Okay.
So when I applied for university in the different universities, I did as open as I could, like BCom law or BCom, actually mostly BCom thingies, but I didn't want to be boxed in.
Okay.
And because of that, in BCom law, when you go in, you do the commercial side and you do the law side. So in the commercial side, you do your accounting, your financial accounting, your economics, and information systems.
Okay.
So then you end up double majoring in information systems and law. And because I loved it so much, because it was one of the electives and then you choose your major, I loved it so much I did my honors in it as well. Okay. And a lot of people don't know what information systems is.
Yeah.
It's kind of joining business with tech. So you're the communications person between the really techie people, so the devs and all of that, and you communicate what they need. Well, you actually communicate what the business needs to the devs and make them understand what they need to do in business language, and then you communicate what the devs can and cannot do using their tech language to operations and to the rest of the business. So because I didn't want to be too technical and code and all of that, I mean, you learn how to code in information systems, but I didn't want to do that. I thought, actually, this is a good place for me to be in because I'm not going to be boxed in the back with the coders, but I'm also not going to be in the operation side. So I can speak to both, understand both worlds, and
So essentially, it's like a business
I was about
analyst.
to ask, what's the difference?
Okay. And I think such things, because I feel like the terms, or like there's a lot of careers in tech, and it can be one thing, but it would have like different titles. So information systems, and then someone would be confused. No, I actually want to do information systems, not knowing that it's actually, well, I think maybe in our world we call it business analysts, and other people call it information systems. So that's some great knowledge to know.
So, having done what you did in terms of not boxing yourself, are you still adamant that maybe traditional way of learning is the way to go? Or do you feel like boot camps might be the better version? Or
I think a bit of both. A bit of both helps because I did both. I went to the traditional university, did my 4 years, and I also did a boot camp. Because I wanted to, like, in my honors year, I wanted to bolster myself. Like, again, I did say I didn't want to be too tech, but I did want to be able to apply for dev jobs. So I did an 18-month boot camp where I learned how to program JavaScript and React and all of that stuff, just so I could get a job. Because we're in South Africa. Just so I could get a job. So I would encourage people to go to university, definitely. It's more than just getting your qualification. It's the entire experience. But if you can't, definitely go for boot camps and certs and all of that. I think that's so important as well. And tech is a space where it's never ending, like you're always learning. So even if you do have a university degree, you still need to kind of enhance your learning with certs. And that's basically like 30% of my job right now. Always. So a bit of both, definitely.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have a bit of both worlds, right? Especially technical and non-technical skills. How is that beneficial to you in your day-to-day? Because,
So I'm in consulting, right? And what we do is every few months you're on a new project in a new industry with a new organization. You have to learn it and understand what they do. And that means you have to have an accelerated rate of learning. And it really helps being able to communicate both worlds, because our stakeholders, the clients, they don't want you to talk about the stack is this, and we couldn't finish this, and it's all just tech terms, because then you're just gonna be like you're talking down and you're acting like everything. And so it helps being able to be in the business side and understand what they're talking about. And I've seen actually that being able to, if there's a conversation between like our senior devs and the client, and they're trying to communicate their frustrations, like, oh, what you're asking for is not going to work, or the timeline's not going to work, and people are misunderstanding each other, and you can just sit back and be like, okay, I can see where the disconnect is. And you're able to communicate that, like, okay, you pull these people aside, like, oh, okay, this is what they actually want. They just don't know how to term it. And you pull the clients aside, and you're like, okay, this is the issue with what you're asking for, and, it's difficult to do this in such a timeline because the tools that we have aren't sufficient. So it helps in the workplace, but also then you're expected to do a lot. You're expected to do a lot. You're expected to play, defense for both sides. And sometimes I don't know what both sides are talking about, actually. And I'm expected to, because I'm the person who's a link between the two. So it has its good times, but also there's also downsides. So
I think I like when you say you expected to play defense, because every time I'm frustrated and I feel like I need a business analyst, I need a scrum master, I need a project manager to go and speak to these people, because I will murder them. So I think it helps a lot. And then you also spoke about you in consulting, right? Let's talk about maybe consulting and actually what does it mean being a consultant in the tech space? Because, we met at a Women in Tech
event,
obviously. We met at a Women in Tech event, and when you introduced yourself, you said, I'm a tech consultant. I was like, what is a tech consultant? Like, what does she do? So maybe if you can just take us to that.
That's one of my favorite questions, because nobody really knows what consultants do. And we're not too sure ourselves, I'm not going to lie. But essentially, in my day-to-day, right, I'll tell you currently, and then in the past, and probably in the future. Currently, I'm working with, so firstly, we work with organizations, not directly like people. It's like huge organizations who are trying to improve the organization. So whether it's by reducing costs or increasing profits, that's always the end goal. And we can do this in different ways, whether it's improving productivity within the workplace, or you're working with the workforce, or improving systems, or that's where tech comes in. Like tech strategy and tech consulting would be working with the systems, working with the culture, the data culture, the tech culture. There's also ops where now you're working with the people, you're working with how you go to market with your clients, how you play as how you work as a player in your industry, essentially. But tech consulting, my day-to-day right now, we're working with a mining company, and we're doing their end-to-end data reporting. So ESG has become a really big thing, and they now need to report on their sustainability. And so we're building that landscape for them where they can pull the data from the different sources. So how much carbon is it created, or how much carbon is created, I think, in their day-to-day operations, and then they have to pay taxes on that and all of that. So we have to build that landscape for them. So it's a lot of talking to the client, understanding what they do in the day-to-day, and then pulling all the data that they have, which is millions of data, data bytes, and then creating an end-to-end pipeline. So from when you pull in the data, how it's transformed, how it's loaded, and then all the way to reporting. And that's essentially what we're doing on this project. But in the past, we've done projects where we're improving the tech strategy of the business. So what do you see, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Do you need to go to the cloud now? Because most organizations are on-prem, and they're using legacy systems, and it's like super difficult to work with. It's super slow. The innovation's slow. So we have to like now move them to a hybrid situation or on the cloud. And then I'm losing my train of thought, but essentially that's what we help organizations with. And it's the exciting part about consulting is that it's a different client every few months. So it's a different industry, and you get to learn about all of these. And you're just like, oh wow, is this what bankers do? Or I've had a new sense of appreciation for people who are in call centers. We all hate spam calls. But a previous project I was on, I was able to actually see the behind the scenes, and you realize that people are working so hard, and they've got such crazy systems and a lot of pressure to deal with, and they're just people too. So consulting's fun in that way, but it's also like super high pressure, super volatile, super But I think that's what consultants do.
So if I want to see if I understand. So it's an organization where other organizations come to you guys and say, look, we need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you guys help us?
Essentially.
Oh, okay.
And then you spoke about data, pulling data a lot.
Yeah.
And obviously the new terms that or people want to get into data analysis, for example. So does your job have a bit of data analysis? If so, which languages are they using? Like, what should people know about data analysis?
Oh my word. Okay. So again, with consulting, you can put on different hats. So with my background, information systems, you mentioned that people would say it's business analysis. I've put on that hat before. I've also put on the hat of an enterprise architect. I'm currently in the data team. So I do put on the hat of a data analyst and working towards being a data architect or engineer. I don't use languages. Because I'm not that technical. But one thing I do work with a lot is Excel. Fun. We are not a Microsoft house, but like we work a lot with Microsoft products because we're a Microsoft partner. So we use Azure, we use DevOps, their Azure DevOps, we use Synapse, we use I'm running out of, but the entire Azure environment to make our lives easier. So I don't know about the languages, but Power BI or there's this other one that we don't use, but we use Power BI for reporting. I think that's one of the most important things. Excel and Power BI are so important, are two important tools that you really need to know as an analyst. SQL, definitely. That's actually, yes, that's a language that I do use quite a bit. But because we're in this age of low code or no code, most of the tools do most of the work for you. So understanding, my boss always says, you have to understand the fundamentals. You have to understand why SQL does what it does. And then you can just use it to do the few commands. So your search, your pull, whatever like that. I guess we use Git as well. That's not a language though. But yeah, so those are the important tools.
Okay.
Then you also mentioned enterprise architecture. What is that? What's an enterprise?
She wears so many hats.
What's an enterprise architecture?
So being an enterprise architect is basically tech strategy. So you know how a business, right, has different pillars. So you've got your people, you've got your operations, you've got whether you're a service or a product business, you've got your security, you've got your tech stack, you've got all of that stuff. So an enterprise architect would essentially come in as an overarching, as an overarching goal. You then understand, okay, in order for your business, what do you want to do? Do you want to reduce your costs? Okay, then let's look at your workforce. Are they being very productive? Are we underpaying them so turnover is high and then you have to spend money training new people? Okay, you want to increase profits. Okay, what are your operations looking like? Are you wasting a lot of money, losing a lot of material? Are you maybe your tech stack is inefficient? You guys are using legacy systems, blah, blah, blah. So for you to be able to look at the business as a whole and decide where you want to go, whether you want to be a bigger player in the market or like you want to decrease your cost or whatever, an enterprise architect would come and look at those things. And then there are different roles that underneath, like a data architect. Now we're looking at your data and your tech stack. Oh, okay. You're not using your data efficiently, and so you're not being able to preempt increases or losses because you're not using your data, or there's so many, but there's an entire framework for enterprise architecture, which is I think we use the Zachman framework, and it looks at all these pillars, and across the pillars it's so many times. But anyway, the point is an enterprise architect comes in and looks at the overarching business processes and all of that, and then we can identify whether or not you need to increase your profit or decrease costs, essentially.
So I think that it's like a solution architect, but for business.
Yes.
Okay.
So solution architect is actually one of the pillars under enterprise architecture with data architects and all of that. There's so many, but they focus on a specific group of things. So a solution architect would be your tech stack and your tech solutions, and a data architect would be looking at the data. So they all work together towards
It's an
it's interesting,
right?
and not a lot of people know about it.
Yeah.
But then, would someone who's done like information systems or a BSc in IT be considered for enterprise architecture, or is it a separate kind of thing that maybe someone has to do a certification or something like that?
Absolutely. Definitely information systems. I think that's the core pipeline for information systems graduates. Because again, you have to communicate between all these technical people and then the tech strategy, so the strategy of the business and all of that. That's for sure straight. But the beauty of tech is that you can,
Yes,
you can
definitely.
So anyone who's done like a BSc in IT or ComSci or whatever, you can do enterprise architecture. Maybe you might have to do a course in the frameworks, but that's light work. Like, DMBOK is for data, but PMBOK, I think, project management, body of knowledge. Yeah, there's so many tools out there, and it's always a certification away, because if you've got the basic knowledge, you just need to bolster it with something that might take you into the business side of things. But definitely, if you're a consultant, just go. If you actually want to. if you wanna have a career change, go into consulting.
Really?
It's really good for a pivot. I started there, and I now don't know how to choose which industry I want to go into. Like telecoms seems so interesting, but then the finance industry, insurance or banks, so interesting, so much money, but so interesting. You know what I mean? So if you want to pivot, that would be a good 1 or 2 years in consulting. Because now you learn all the industries at a quick rate. And yeah.
So is it similar then to being like a contractor?
Essentially.
Yeah, because contractors would basically be placed somewhere and then maybe the project ends, you get placed somewhere else.
Essentially.
Okay.
I think, I don't know what contractors do, but we come in as contractors. We come in, we sit next to you, we understand what you do in a day to day, and then we try to improve
Okay.
your work environment or your processes. Maybe streamline your processes, maybe automate your processes, and that's why people don't like us, because we come in maybe like know-it-alls.
Of course.
And then they ruin our systems and leave.
And then they go.
Not all of us. But essentially, that's been the sentiment around us.
Okay.
But we try to improve. That's what we're supposed to do anyway.
And I mean, you know, I've spoke to like contractors, like a few contractors before, and it's always like how people don't like us. How do you now deal with that? Because not really, I don't think I like them.
I think for me, it's how the companies sometimes, like you said, they bring them on as if they know and they will do this quicker
It's just
than
like,
you
oh, so
guys.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it's how it's
that.
handled.
I get that. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So we've had like situations where maybe I want to say director of a company, right, who's our client, would then bring in their teams, the people on the ground, and be like, okay, so these are the people from
Such and such
Yeah.
a place.
and they're here to improve our systems. And you'll find that the people, when you start talking to the people on the ground, the ops team, they're just like, firstly, we weren't told about this. And secondly, the sentiment is now, if you improve our processes, you're automating our processes, then are you trying to take me out? Are you trying to make my job redundant? Like, what is the plan here? Are they trying to reduce costs by phasing our jobs out? Like, and then you'll find that people are very resistant to talk to us and all of that. And you'll get some people who are a-holes in the consulting industry. Like, they will come in and be like, yeah, I see you're doing this, but we can do it better, you know? Instead of just understanding, our actual job is to go in, understand your process, understand what your job entails, or what are your blockers. What do you think would improve the system? Have you communicated this to management? And then either we will be the shield for you and communicate what you've previously been begging management to do for the last 2 years, and it'll probably get done in 6 months because they're now paying us to do it. Or we present different solutions. Like, okay, have you thought about this? Have you considered this? Have you considered this system? Do you think it would improve your job if we moved to this platform? You know, things like that. So that's what we're supposed to do. But obviously you can't speak for everyone. Yeah.
And is it generally you who approach the corporates, or do corporates then come to you and say, we feel like there's this and this?
So we work mostly on relationship building, networking, and tenders, for lack of a better word. So they companies usually put out things called RFIs. RFPs. RFIs are requests for information, and then RFPs are requests for proposals. So they'll be like, hey, we've decided as a bank that we're moving onto the cloud now. We see that the world is going in this direction. We need to do it, but we don't know how to do it. And, you know, it's been said that most huge tech undertakings, huge tech projects, they usually fail. And that's because you don't have people who are dedicated to looking at the project. You know, people in the business, they're continuing the business. You know, it has to be business as usual. So nobody really gets assigned to ensuring that this transformation takes place smoothly and seamlessly, and everyone's doing their part. So that's where we come in. So they'll be like, oh, hey, we're doing this. Who wants to propose? And then they look at all our proposals. They look at what we're offering and how much we're offering it for, and, you know, what we think would be the best solution. And then they choose. Or we do networking. So maybe we've worked with this bank before, and so they know that we did a good job. So we kind of talk about, hey, actually, while we were doing this, we noticed that this is also wrong, or this is not working well. And, you know, we develop relationships and all of that. So
Makes sense.
I just want to then quickly speak about, because we spoke about consulting, contracting, right? And I've never done either, yeah. But the people in that, I have a friend who's in that space, right? And she moved from permanent to being consulting slash contracting. And she's like, oh, you guys should try it because there's a lot of money there. So now, like someone maybe who's in their permanent role and then they financially thinking, no, but apparently there's money that side. Do you think that someone, besides, it being a role where you will learn a lot, different industries and everything like that, do you think, because I feel that sometimes the social media or people on social media will drive financial
Financial
tech, financial thingy because take this, you make six figures
Yeah.
in break into tech and everything like that, and people then don't even stay in their roles long enough to even understand the role. Someone's just like, oh no, okay, you'll be in the banking industry and you feel like, then someone else will say, oh, but contracting pays because you get all your money and whatever.
Yeah.
Then you want to leave banking and then you go and to be a contractor, and then someone says, oh, but actually, that other
Consulting.
company pays. Then now you just want to move around. So maybe what's your take on that? Say, looking constantly, I mean, guys, we all love money, sure.
Yeah.
But
Is it worth it?
So firstly, I don't know about contracting, but consulting would be like any other job. So
Okay.
you get the internships, you get the permanent roles and all of that.
okay.
Oh, okay.
And you belong to a company, you get your annuity,
So
your
you're
retirement stuff.
basically permanent.
You're a permanent
Yeah.
employee.
Company.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All
You're
right.
a permanent employee. You just work for other companies, essentially.
Okay.
But contracting sounds fun when you're getting the money and getting the positions,
yeah.
but it feels very not stable,
Yeah.
unstable for me.
Yeah.
I get you.
As for is there money in consulting? Yes and no.
Okay.
So you've got your big four firms, which are auditing firms, and then they have this advisory part in their firms. So, and that's where I am. I don't want to say advisory is the side hustle of the firm, but it's not the main money maker for the firms. And then you get the boutique consulting firms, your McKinseys, your BCGs, your
Okay.
forgetting them, Kearney, those pay. You see the TikTok videos, employee of choice, and they're like, I'm in consulting. Those pay, and they will make you work for it as well, right?
Okay.
So in terms of money, yes, there is them, but in terms of chasing a career chasing a job for the money, I'm inclined to say it's not the worst thing in the world,
Okay.
but it is doing a disservice to a person who wants to have a career.
Okay.
Because there's a difference between just working and then having a career and in 10 years I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I have a plan for my life. I have a goal and all of
Yeah.
that. So I need to take strategic steps to get to that goal.
Love
With that being said, I'm not putting money in the back seat. No,
Yeah.
no, no, no.
Yeah.
I have to have a life I want to maintain as
Of
well.
course.
So for me, it's if you have a goal, a long-term goal, then sometimes you might not take the best paying job if it's not gonna, if it doesn't fit in the career trajectory. But by all means, go for the money, guys. Like this economy,
Obviously.
Yeah.
by all means, if it's not something you're gonna absolutely hate and be absolutely miserable in, and it's gonna drain the life out of you, then by all means, go for the money, like for sure.
Love that.
So just to change the conversation a bit, what would you say are the skills that someone who goes into a tech space should have? Like, what are the key skills? Maybe both personal type skills and also professional level skills.
I think the number one thing is not the number one. I'll give a few, but one of the most important ones is be always ready to learn. Like be curious, because tech is an ever-changing landscape. What you were taught in university doesn't really, it might apply, but it's not the latest or the best way of working right now. And So you have to be constantly learning. And like I said earlier, certs are always, they're always something that you have to do to keep up. You don't want to be redundant in the industry. Besides that, you have to be a problem solver.
Okay.
And this was something that was taught to me by all my engineering friends.
Okay.
They're like, oh, engineering is a problem solving. So that applies to tech as well. You have to be a problem solver. You have to be able to look at a problem and be like, okay, what can be the best solution? What can I best apply for this? And I guess they're both professional and personal skills, but also you have to be able to work with people. Like that whole vibe about devs being guys in a hoodie sitting in a corner, they're introverts, and it's being faded out because a lot more people are coming into the space, and you have to have interpersonal skills. You have to be able to talk to people. You have to be able to communicate, which leads me to my next one. You have to be able to communicate, right? It's really important working with people who can communicate their shortfalls and their wins and all of that, because I mean, imagine we had this client this other time who, you know, when you start working with a client, you have to get information to understand their business. And this person couldn't get the information on their side. They were struggling, but they weren't communicating that with us. So we're asking. And then this person's just like, yeah, I'm going to get it. We have to escalate because now it's hindering the project. And now their job is in jeopardy because it looks like they're not doing their job, but it's just from, the rest of their teammates. So communication, super important as well. And I don't know, I don't always preach you have to be like interested in your job that much, or you have to give 110%. I'm not from that generation. So do your job, go home. But being able to work with people is super important, and knowing your craft is also important. You don't want to seem like an idiot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be insecure in your role as well. So learning, communicating, problem solving.
Speaking of being insecure in your role, and we are in a very male-dominated industry now. Imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Like feeling like I don't belong here. How? I'm gonna assume you've experienced it, and how do you deal with that? Because I feel like it doesn't go away. Sometimes just like I nailed this, and then they come back, and then they shrink you down, and then you constantly. I was speaking to this other guy, and he said, this field will make you feel like you don't belong. And I looked at him like, you? Excuse me, you don't belong?
Yeah.
I feel like that every day, and I constantly have to like prove myself that I can do this. And, compared to guys, it's just like they always getting they always considered first, and then it's just like, oh, let's see, well, he's busy, let's see if Nomfundo can do it. So how do you deal with imposter syndrome in this field?
There's this funny quote I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Where, obviously I'm not going to say it verbatim, but it's like you feeling like you don't belong, you have imposter syndrome, and it's like, are you even good enough to have imposter syndrome or something like that?
Wow. I've never heard that.
It was a joke. But it's like, are you even good enough to feel like, oh, okay. But so you can't escape it.
Yeah.
You honestly cannot escape it. I don't know how guys do it, but I think, I'm going to get a bit feministy here, but I think the world has just fueled the confidence and the audacity in men, right?
Yes.
Like, that's just how society is set up. And so they go through life feeling like they deserve and, they belong and all of that. And women just have to kind of work their way up to that. So I've definitely felt it, and it hasn't gone away, especially if you have to start a new project every single time. And it's like, am I doing enough? You get the basics, but then it's like, it's a different role every time, so you're learning from scratch. I have been blessed. I never take this lightly. I've been blessed with some of the best managers to have worked with, who have always fueled my spirit, actually. You know, they've always been like, you're doing a good job. And I'll literally be sitting thinking, ugh, I should have done this. I should have done that. I really need to get onto this. I need to understand this more. And I'm super hard on myself because I'm trying constantly to not disappoint.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're doing so well. You're so amazing. Like, you're doing great. Like, how did you even think of that? And it's like, I don't even do that much. Like, relax, you know? So that has really helped. And I know most people aren't blessed with a manager that's good and fueling. But then you get it from friends. And half of my friends don't even know what I actually do.
Yeah.
But they hear me speak, or they see me in meetings, or I say something that's super techy, and they're like, ooh, girl, look at you. You know, that helps.
Yeah.
But beyond the external validation, it's really within.
Okay.
And my favorite thing about myself is that I fully understand that at the end of the day, it really is not that deep.
Yeah.
It really isn't that deep. Like,
saving
we're all gonna
lives.
die. You know, we're not saving lives.
We're
That is
saving
my-
PDFs.
I literally say that all the time. We're not saving lives. If I feel like, I did a crap job, it is what it is. I'll do better tomorrow. And it's okay. If I feel like I don't belong, I'm going to look at the people around me and be like, because I've done a lot of introspection. So I'm going to look at the people around me and be like, are you guys making me feel like, you know? And if it's not that and it's not me, then I don't know.
Yeah.
Something's got to give.
Yeah.
I really feel like it's not that deep. And that's what's helped me with the imposter syndrome.
I just want to ask, so the managers that, you know, are fueling your confidence, is it a man or a woman?
Actually, it's been a bit of both.
Okay.
It's been a bit of both. And it's also different races. I know.
Nice.
People have been surprised. They're just like,
Okay.
Because generally it's like, no, it was a man. Or it was actually
Yeah,
white.
because I feel like if, you know, maybe if it was a woman, they're the ones, oh, you're doing so well. Because I have like, I feel like I have feminists in my team and, you know, they get to be like, she literally can go, as women.
I love that.
You know, she's like, she needs to go, as women, we need to learn more. She's like, oh, wonderful.
Absolutely. But currently it's women, like my director and my manager.
Okay.
Best women. Like, oh,
Love
my,
it.
they're amazing.
Yeah, you're
Love
blessed.
them. Love them.
Then, so have you had a role model in shaping you? And if so, how did it influence who you are in your career?
My two role
Or
models.
a mentor. Let
Mentor.
me just quantify that.
Mentors, I haven't had a formal one actually, and everywhere I go, people are like, "You need to have a mentor," and I'm getting that. I'm getting a sense of that, like especially someone who's where I want to be, so I can work towards that. But I've definitely had role models. My mom, she's the softer kind of woman. Like she's not a mokoto, she's very soft, and she teaches me that it's okay to be a woman.
Yeah.
Okay, and yes, it's a male-dominated industry that I'm in, but I don't have to now be hard and be mean and be aggressive just to get my way. Just, you know, use what you've got and who you are. My grandmother, my late grandmother, God rest her soul, she was hard and aggressive. she, you know, a woman back in the 80s, 90s, who was just climbing, you know, her career ladder. She got her way. And she also taught me that, and sometimes you need to, you know, kick somebody's butt. You need to, you know, be super assertive and draw boundaries and all of that. So that balance, that's soft and that actually, it's really shaped me into who I am. And in many, many spaces, actually, not just in my career. But in terms of a mentor, I'm still looking for one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to ask then, you know, how do you navigate being, you know, a woman in tech? And we spoke about how we really don't want to now be all masculine, show up and like be hard and aggressive because we're trying to fit in with the big boys. And so that balance, I think, sort of helps. It's just like, well, I'm nice and feminine and soft.
Exactly. Like people would just be like, oh, but Sino, she's so nice. She's always smiling. And then a person would be like,
she is.
that you? And it's like, yeah, because I'm like,
all right.
And then, how has being a woman impacted you in the tech space? Like, do you feel like, how do I put it? Has it worked in your favor? Has it worked against you? Has it actually encouraged you to be? Look at it.
Now we're gonna get into it. Yes, so it has impacted me because you see the nuances, the microaggressions, you pick them up, and sometimes you're just like, was that an attack? You know. But I can never tell if it's whether I'm a woman or if I'm black.
Okay.
You know, being a black woman, you know, you've got, you know, you're fighting two wars here. So what I've noticed is, I think the culture in my organization has been really good. In that I've never experienced it that side unless I've missed it, but it's always been from the client side. And you see few like, oh, okay, you don't trust me, you don't trust my opinion. Is it because you ask yourselves, is it because I'm young? Is it because I'm black? Is it because I'm a woman? Do you not, you know, take my word for it? Or you're just going to speak over me? Blah, blah, blah. And you notice that there's a certain culture that still goes on in other organizations. That's quite patriarchal and very maybe anti-black. I don't know. But I don't take that to heart. I don't. It's water off a back. What's it? Duck's back. Yes. I make sure that I know my craft. That's the way it's impacted me. I make super sure, like, you know how you have to give in. You have to give two times as much as the next person. I make sure that I know my stuff. And I never walk into a meeting unprepared. So that you can never catch me slipping, ever. You might once or twice, but you generally won't find me speaking about something that I don't know. And I'm brave enough to say I don't know if I don't know. So that's the way it's impacting me, that I'm not necessarily a perfectionist, but I'm definitely not going to give you a reason to undermine me. Because then you're going to be like, yeah, woman, or yeah, black people. I don't know. So I don't want to give that perception about my people, because I love black women, you know, and I don't want them to be grouped or classed based on my mistake, and that's what happens most of the time. But yeah, you notice those little things. You're just like, but it's fine, because the world is moving to a better, slowly, but a better kind of vibe. So it's not as prevalent, and it's not as in your face. The racism or the sexism isn't slap bang like, oh, you know. But yeah, it's definitely affected me in that way.
Okay. Interesting. I wonder if, like I mentioned, this guy said he experiences imposter syndrome. I wonder if, because every time someone maybe doesn't trust my judgment, or someone wants to question something I've done, it's always is it because I'm a woman? Is it because I'm black? You know, I wonder if guys, when they experience, the ones that do, I guess, when they experience, you know, being doubted or being judged and whatever, like, I wonder, what do they say? Is it because I'm a man? Is it because I'm black? Like, I wonder what their...
We can only guess. We don't know.
Well, I'll ask him, actually. Like, because for me, it will be like, I a few weeks ago, literally had to get something into prod, but I was given a run around. And I sat alone and was just like, no, man, last week we did something similar, and I was, another guy did it, and he didn't go through all of this. Why? Is it because I'm a woman? Like, why? I really wonder. I must ask him, you know.
If he's black, he's probably like, it's because I'm black.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then now, maybe a young woman at home wants to join the tech industry. What advice would you give them?
I'm not good at advice. I'll give you that much. I'm not good at advice. But one thing I'll tell all women education is
Yep.
so important. Please educate yourself. The tech industry isn't that difficult to break into in terms of learning. And I love how we have so many programs and courses that are catered especially to women.
Yeah.
Or the youth, actually. Like, there's, the only thing that's a bit more difficult right now is access to all this information. So, you've got your different, we've got YEP at work that takes, I think, unemployed youth or youth that are doing a boot camp, and then they show them around the business, they teach them some skills, and then sometimes they employ them if there's, space at work. Things like that. We don't always have access to them, and I think they should be amplified a bit more on social media.
Yeah.
But while you're waiting for that break, as a young woman sitting at home, some of the most accessible things in the world right now is internet. And I know the landscape in South Africa, it's not always accessible, but the internet is quite prevalent now. TikTok helps. Like, I know we love the messy side of TikTok and the funny side of TikTok, but there's also quite an educational side of TikTok. And they always have videos where they're promoting, go to this website, it's free and you can find these courses. Do LinkedIn Learning, that's great, it's also free. So there are opportunities and there are resources. I know that we don't have enough access. So actually, to other young women, please, if you find opportunities, amplify them, retweet or repost or whatever, these opportunities for other young people. Because the one thing that we do have that connects us all is social media. And that's where you can find most of your opportunities these days. And also, I know this is a tech channel, but we shouldn't be limited to, all this rave about tech. There's also ways that we can join. So it's not always about coding and dev work and all of that. You can use tech to do marketing or, with all these AI tools, you can do a plethora of other things.
Yeah.
So, we're not limited. Like, we're literally not limited. In terms of what we can do. It's just access to information that would also then lead to access to opportunities. But social media is a great starting point after educating yourself.
100%.
And then I think just to close off, I see, we can go on and on.
Yes.
So do you feel like your work-life balance is in check? If not, if it is, what are you doing? If not, why not?
I mean, considering that you are in a very role that's fast paced,
in favor changing.
Guys, I'm honest. I'm a Gen Z through and through. Okay, so whatever these stereotypes about Gen Z people. Oh, they don't care about work. Blah 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 blah. I have strong boundaries in the workplace, and thankfully, again, my environment, so grateful, is very flexible. We've got parents who will leave at 1 p.m. You just know you're not going to reach them at 1 p.m. because they're going to pick up their kids. The same must be applied to me. I have no kids. Mara, if I want to, leave at 3, or if I've got a doctor's appointment, I shouldn't have to, go over the weekend. So that's the kind of culture we have at work, where if you need to do something, just communicate, and then make sure that you're not inconveniencing anybody else by your absence. And then you can either work up the hours later, after hours, or over the weekend. I mean, it's a give and take. Obviously, we have to put in our 8 hours at the end of the day. But my work-life balance is super balanced. Like, we call it work-life
Being
integration.
In the tech space, that's good.
Exactly, yeah. You guys struggle? Do you in
No,
industry?
I don't.
Because you must tell me now I shouldn't go to the industry if that's the case.
I don't.
Lovely.
Boundaries, balance. Do you struggle, ma'am?
I didn't hear that. It was like a little bit of noise.
All right.
I'm working on it, okay?
You're working on it? Please work faster, because you're only in your 20s once. I mean.
Yeah, ish, guys. Yeah, I don't know, man. But then looking at the career choice that you make, Do you have any regrets?
Should have done engineering.
Really?
Really?
The money, guys, the
Okay,
opportunities
okay.
are endless, and that's why they say, "Oh no, it's a problem solving thingy," because you can go literally person who did electrical engineering or chemical engineering. Now they're in frigging strategy in the C-suite, and you're just like, what do you know?
What?
What do you know about this? And it's like, no, it's because I'm a problem solver. I look at a problem and I can solve.
Okay, but just for the money? Because, I mean, you could literally then be anything if you're doing it for money.
Because even in the tech space, I can see you can move around.
You can move around, but I think
It's not as easy, no?
if you come from an engineering background, or at least most of the people that I've seen in tech come from an engineering background, right?
Okay.
And the opportunities are so well afforded to them. Like, in our project teams, maybe because you join different teams for different projects, right? And they'll look at the skills that people have. You have to send in your CV every time, even though you're permanently employed there. But
Really?
yes.
Wow.
I didn't
okay.
mention that's the downside of consulting. You basically apply for a new job unless your team assigns you work.
Okay.
You have
Wow,
to kind
okay.
of, right?
Interesting.
So,
And then you go through the interview process.
not necessarily an interview
Okay.
process, but they'll be like, okay, we're doing this work for this company. It's in the financial services industry, so we need these kinds of skills.
Okay.
And engineering degrees span across the skills.
Oh.
So me with my information systems, they'd be like, okay, you can't really do dev work, and so we're going to put you in more of a business role, so business analyst. You can communicate, you can do your technical specification documents and your business, your functional specs, but you can't code the actual
Okay.
stuff.
Okay.
So then they'll take someone who did comp sci, or for some reason electrical engineering, because they code.
have, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't
And you're
know.
just like, what? Okay. So in my organization, engineers make a lot of the consultants,
Wow.
and they also get a lot of preference because of their degrees. So I've seen how important it is.
Okay.
It's not really a regret, but it's for fun. Like, I should have just,
wish I
because
did.
they definitely do
Yeah.
get better roles in terms of consulting. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've heard that, there's a little bit of coding here and there, but I don't know if it's in depth when it compared to software.
The actual.
Yeah. But it is what it is, I guess. There's so many roles people can go into. You can
So many.
And I feel like sometimes even if you just have just any qualification,
Yeah.
like a
There's
degree, a
something,
diploma,
yeah.
anything, you'll go somewhere.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I guess the information is not out there. Like,
It's not.
I did not know that engineers can.
Yep. So
they love engineers in corporate.
I
Like,
don't know.
and they'll never leave it alone. Like, they're no longer engineers, right? But
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are, because
But
they're not
they
actual.
are, they have the
They have the
qualification.
qualification. And guys, I'm not hating on engineers.
We actually take them lab.
But as long as you have the qualification, they'll never drop it, even though they haven't done a day of engineering. Like, mining engineers have never seen a mine, Mara.
Interesting.
very interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We could go on forever and ever. It's been a
Good.
beautiful conversation. Thanks
Definitely.
again for coming through. Thank you so much. You've given so much information, and I
Yeah.
think the fact that engineers get that one I'm taking away. Then I'm not gonna force someone to go into coding. No, be an engineer. You never know.
You can do everything. You can do everything.
Yeah.
You might wake up, be a doctor, and the next day.
But thank you so much for coming through. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that you found this video valuable as we did. And of course, we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.